This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a damp, wet, rainy, kind of foul weather Djuma. It's going to be an interesting morning because, well, it's raining, but it's that kind of soft, wet rain that makes everything wet. Great for the bush. Not so wonderful for us. My name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Paul. And like I said to you, it's a very warm welcome. I hope wherever you are that you are cozy and warm and not getting rained on like we are at the moment. It's going to be an interesting morning, like I say, because for one reason, it's going to be good for tracks and things like that if animals are walking around now, because the tracks will be quite easy to see. But on the other hand, it's probably washed away most of the tracks from early in the night. Which isn't ideal. But we luckily have started with an elephant, so that's good. We'll probably spend some time with him this morning. The less we drive around in the rain sometimes, the better from an overall experience and from an equipment point of view. So we try and kind of keep everything nice and dry. But remember, we are coming to you live, so we'd love to hear from all of you. You can use the various social media platforms to contact us and ask any questions. So hashtag on Twitter, or hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, should I say, at FC on the YouTube stream, and then in the comments boxes of the other places that we stream to. And then kiddies, remember, you can send your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. So the plan is for the morning, like I say, is to spend some time with this Ellie, nice big bull that's been hanging around. He's been here since yesterday, kind of around the camp and quarantine. You can see he's having a good little feed and will be loving this weather because there's not much wind this morning. It's just wet and damp and kind of cool, and so for a big bull elephant that must be quite pleasant. So we'll kind of spend some time with him, and then I was thinking we'll just go slowly down the western side. You never know, maybe the dogs came over from yesterday. Where they were was not too far from Gari Main, like Triple M Junction, so they might have come in there. And then I heard some lions roaring as well, but they sound like they might be in Biffel's Hook. Well, we'll kind of check around. I think Lauren, who's back, everybody, she's going to go down probably towards the Wigs, go and see what's happening with our owls. I'm sure they're going to look very grumpy this morning. They're not going to be too impressed. And well, Pridelands, wanted to be out, but at this stage they just can't with the rain. Unlike our vehicles that have rain roofs and things like that, they don't have that ability. So they will hopefully join us if this stops later. But the kind of forecast is that it should rain like this the whole day. So we're in for a wet morning. And like I said, it's probably just going to be Lauren and I for the majority of it. So we would welcome your input in order to keep this fun and entertaining and, well, educational too. Good. Now, this Ellie bull, you can see, has had a fine time this morning. Not only has he been eating, but if you look on his back, he's got a reddish appearance. So he's been throwing sand all over him. With being wet from the rain, that sand is sticking and is creating this kind of layer on him. Now, in these conditions, that layer is not really helping very much from a protection of the sun and loss of moisture point of view. This is all going to be for a point of view of maintaining skin condition. So after he's done that, then he'll go and rub a little bit later, and that will remove any dead skin cells. It will potentially help with removing any parasites that might be on them. It's a fallacy that elephants don't get ticks. They do, they just don't get many of them. But if you look on elephants, you can often spot large grey ticks, grey-white colour between the legs, sometimes underneath the chin, so where the skin is quite soft. You see those ticks there, so they do still get those, and there's still some maintenance of their skin that they need to do, and that's part of it. So on rainy days like this, you often find a lot of the elephants covered in sand like this, just because their bodies are so wet and they're throwing sand on themselves just to kind of get it to stick and to be able to look after themselves. And you'll find that it's going to be a very lazy day for him. He's not going to go charging around and have to worry about traveling distance for water. He'll just sit where he is and, meander to a water hole at some point. He's not losing huge amounts of moisture today, so everything can be fairly easy. The other nice thing is that he can spend his time in very open clearings like this, accessing food that might not have been accessible normally if the sun's out. Doesn't have to worry about shade or anything like that. So you find that the ellies in this weather often are out like this, right in the open, feeding. They're pretty happy in these conditions, as are hippos and buffalo and rhinos. They all enjoy that kind of thing. It's nice for them to have cool weather rather than the heat. The ones that don't enjoy this is the cats. They absolutely hate this kind of thing. You can imagine their fur gets all wet and they get very grumpy with life in this kind of weather. I would also imagine that a lot of them would have tried to hunt already earlier in the day, or in the night, should I say. So hopefully we can find one on a kill or something like that. That would be quite nice. All right, like I say, we'll spend some time with our Ellie Bull. In the meantime, though, let's take a look at what we're in for weather-wise this morning.
Good morning, everyone, to, well, a very cloudy, rainy, not the most pleasant day we've ever had in Djuma, but the rain is here after all. Liquid of life is going to hit that ground and soon things will flourish and the landscape will entirely change. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren and I do have Davy on camera today. We are back in the Lowveld and it's an absolute pleasure to be back after quite some time, to be honest. Don't love driving in the rain, but I do love the rain, if that makes sense. We actually had a tropical storm in Maldives, and we arrived in Joburg, and then we had another huge electrical tropical storm, it felt like, and then we've arrived in the Lowveld, and here is the rain. Makes things a little bit tricky, I'm sure Tristan mentioned, to track, look for signs, see. My vision is definitely impaired, but all in all, it is great to be back, and I've got a lot of catching up to do. A lot. We were gone for 6 weeks, so Tristy's updated me on most of it, and I think it's just time to explore the reserve.
Oh, lion.
Lion? Oh. Well spotted, David Eastaugh. Okay, we have lions. Walking right into frame. Can you honestly believe it? I bet Tristan is so jealous right now. Haha, Tristan. Okay. Is it just one Davy?
I just saw one male.
I can see him. I think it could be Dark Mane. Dark Mane, if it's you, I'm coming for you. Yeah, I can see him. I wonder if we go round rather than off-roading. It's better not to... Oh! Would you look at that? Hello, little guy. I'm not loving the fact that you're on the road. Leopard tortoise. I found a leopard. I'm just debating internally whether to drive round or move. I think I'm going to drive round on this one. Find a lion. Bush is pumping! Hello, little guy. We've been swimming with your relatives, the sea turtles. You're not supposed to touch tortoises in any way, shape or form, but if they're in a position where they are going to get harmed, you can actually move them. And even if they do release that water that they retain from their bursa sacs, then as long as you move them to water, they can replenish that immediately. I think we have just bumped into Dark Mane. Tristan is going to be so jealous. A wet Dark Mane. And I believe Missy's wig is back and I cannot wait to see her. I have been following that story for so long. I literally cannot wait to see them. This will be the third chick. If she does successfully have a chick, this will be the third one for me. Sebwig successfully dispersed, then Olivia. And then this will naturally be the third one. Okay, I'm going to drive the long way around because it is raining and hopefully catch up with her lion.
While Lauren catches up with her lion, which is a nice start, we're just repositioning with our Ellie bull because he was kind of moved a little bit and a bit obscured by some trees, so it'll be much nicer from here. And you can see he's resting his trunk on his tusk. You see he's doing this quite regularly to the bulls. And their trunk starts to get so heavy that, you know what, let me just kind of ease it off. I don't have to hold it with anything but my tusk. And then kind of like that. I was once told when I was in Kenya by a group that raises orphaned elephants and spends a lot of time with them, that this behavior that you see here is often an indication of a quite happy animal and one that's relaxed when they put their trunk over like that.
Yeah, I heard the guys from the east are talking about Shasha close to Mlowanini.
Bear with me, everyone. I'm just on the radio.
Going certainly to the north, maybe it's going to cross in Torchwood, so I'm going to try for that Ingwe first.
Copy. He is mobile. I'll try and follow him. Okay, we do have a lion here that I'm going to try and keep up with. Although he is going into the block, and to be honest, today is not a day that you really want to go off-roading. I'm going to go in a little bit, Dog. Okay, I'm going to keep off-roading here and see if we can catch up with our lion. We've managed to catch up with them. I'm pretty sure this is dark. Hello, handsome. It's been a while. But he is going thick into this block, and this block is a sort of Rebecca's Road block on the western edge of quarantine, and it is hairy. It's really hairy. Normally, we don't tend to follow animals too much through this block, especially on a rainy day. By driving off-roading on a day like this, you can actually damage the terrain quite a fair bit. So we may just let him go. Oh, scent marking. I heard you had a little run-in with the S8 male, Darkmane. Lots of speculation, but Darkmane is still dominant, he's still territorial, and he's still part of the northern Evocas. What do you think, Dav? Go round? Okay, we'll try and go round just a little bit, but I'm not going to go too deep into this block. And last night, as soon as I arrived, I looked out of my door. It was a hyena. I couldn't believe it. I've been chatting to Michael Fleetwood, and I know the hyena sightings have been few and far between. However, there was one outside my door, and I didn't recognize it. I still haven't got a confirmed ID on it, but we believe it. I think it's a male. And he's injured. I don't think it's fatal. Obviously, I'm not a vet, I haven't inspected him, but it doesn't look fatal. And he's wandering around injured. So I'm also going to keep my eye out for that one. Oh, Darkmane, you're going deep into this block, aren't you?
It's gone quite a way.
He's really deep. Well, that was a spectacular start, everyone, but I don't think we're going to go deeper. Not in this weather. It has been raining all night. and he's gone deep into this drainage. Davy and I got stuck here recently, didn't we, Dav? Yes, we're going to keep bumbling, keep exploring. We might bump into him again, we might bump into something else, you never know. And I want to see Missy's wig. Although going into the Moati, it's also not a great idea on a day like today. Darkmane is still looking fabulous, and if you actually think of him as a lion, he's incredibly successful. He's mostly been on his own. When I first met the Avokas, they were very much a band of three: Blondie, Mohawk and Darkmane. And you saw all three of them together. It was quite a magnificent thing to see. However, they seem to have split. They're still part of the same coalition, but they're regularly not seen together. Sorry, I thought that was him there. And if you think of his injury, it's quite extensive. I mean, he's had obviously a broken bone of sorts. It's not healed correctly. So he limps, but he still hunts. He jumped on that elephant's back on the dam cam. He's still a very successful male lion, if not even more so. If you think of a single male lion, his success with Blondie and Mohawk, they've got each other. He's got no one. I love Darkmane. Okay, let's see what else we can find. I'm not sure I could answer that because it depends on so many factors. The sort of tenure of a lion, they say on average can be about 3 years, but it depends on so many factors. The area you're in, the competition, how many other coalitions are around, how many young lions are coming into the area, what's the size of the territory, how many prides there are. So that's why they sort of give average figures, but I know there's a lot of speculation of Darkmane's on his way out. Of course, at some point, a coalition will always be pushed out. They only have a sort of certain amount of time and tenure if someone else comes in. So I'm really not sure. I also need to catch up on what's happening with Blondie and Mohawk, the movement of all the other lions in here. But as long as there's competition, especially from younger males coming in, then naturally the older males will get pushed out at some point. So I'm not going to speculate on that one. But he's looking absolutely fine. He's impressive, really. We tease Darkmane. He's become quite the character with us, but he's very impressive. Wow, what a start. For now, and I'm not sure where I'm sending you. I'm sending you somewhere.
Should be a good time had by all those that are coming on those expeditions. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun. Anyway, we're still with our Ellie Bull. He's still doing Ellie Bull things, which is mostly just feeding at the moment. He's kind of on quarantine and taking it easy, just broken a branch off of a marula tree that he's underneath. And what this rain will do is get all these marulas to be full in leaf. We're going to see bright green marula leaves. You can see the one that's above him. I don't know with the roof if you can actually see it nicely, but those leaves are starting to emerge quite nicely now. So soon we should have nice full shaded marulas, which will be really good. It's been a long time since we've had leaves on the marula trees, so I'm looking forward to having that greenery again. Things should green up quite nicely. If it rains like this for the next day, it should be quite green, quite pretty out here. It's amazing how quickly the bush changes and goes from this kind of desolate brown dryness to beautifully lush and green pretty fast. So it'd be nice if that transition and change happens now over the next little bit. It's always a good thing to see. Jackie and this elephant, does not care at all about the rain. It's pretty happy, actually. You can imagine, like I say, being a big animal like that, how the sun affects it. So much of its body is kind of hit by the sun, and it must get very, very hot on these days that are 37, 38 degrees Celsius and even hotter. So I think they absolutely love this cool weather, especially when there's no wind like this morning. This morning is very, very still, even though we've had rain and it could potentially be construed as kind of miserable. It's not bad. It's fairly warm. Sure, their toes might get a little bit wet and their body gets a bit wet, but it's cool. They don't have to worry about traveling big distances for water. They can just take it very easy during the day and drink when they need to, and kind of meander around and eating. They don't have to even worry about trying to find shade or anything like that. They can just eat wherever they want and enjoy being out in the open. So I think it's one happy elephant at this stage. I think he's enjoying life. He's on a very, very, very slow morning, though. He has hardly moved today. He's kind of gone from one bush to the next one, and then he sits and he eats for a long time, and even his eating is not hurried. It's just slow and methodical. All right, well, I'll spend some more time with him. I'm hoping he's going to try and reach up for the marulas above him, but I'll just have to be patient and wait.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Being nominated to the top 5 and finally being here, for me, it's an achievement. Tracks, I believe I did quite well, and the walk.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward.
The storytelling as well. So yeah, I think that's where I see my strongest point.
And then, that was the opportunity of the scrappy.
I say the bedding and the call, definitely, for me, it was quite a big challenge. Guiding is not all about the award that we have had, but sharing the experience and continue to do what we have passion and love.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
We found him again. And thankfully he's walking along the road. And believe it or not, we're at the Zoe's Rebecca's junction. I always speak about this four-way stop right next to the beautiful Balanites tree. And it used to be such a prominent road. I always say it's Hukumuri's road. It is, and it always will be. And it's nice to see a predator on it. I must say, it's been a while. We used to have tracks all up and down this road, and then all of a sudden it just went very quiet. But we've got dark green on it. Ready, Rav? And it's good to know that it's sort of being used again. This is more on the western side of the reserve, but it's a very, very prominent area. If you go down this way, this is Rebecca's. Ravi was just showing you. It takes you directly to the hyena dens, the Philemon's dip dens. If you continue going the way Dark Main is going, it takes you straight to Gowrie Mains. It's a very prominent road in the reserve. Okay, boy, where are you going? And naturally, due to the weather conditions, animals are going to be a little bit active, if not a little bit grumpy. I remember last year, or maybe the year before, we had the soggiest bird competition. I think we need to do that competition again. I'm sure it was one of the wigs that won. There you go, boy. I'm not a fan of the bum shots, but we're just going to let you casually keep on strolling. Listen to the raindrops, the birds. Okay, better keep up with them. Highly mobile animal.
Well, unfortunately, Lauren seems to be having a little bit of a technical difficulty, so you're back with us and now feeding Ellie. He hasn't reached up yet for a branch off of this tree. I think he's still got some at the bottom here that he's busy with. So I think we'll still have to be a little bit more patient if we are to see that. It'd be nice if he does do it, though. It's very cool when they reach up. Unfortunately, here we don't get the ones that, well, our animals have got so much food they don't really have to go up on their back legs. So, you know, some parts of Africa, to utilize certain food sources, because the elephants have eaten pretty much all of the low-lying stuff, they've now been forced to kind of push up off their back legs to raise the height that they're able to get food at. And so you'll find them kind of standing on their back legs, rearing up, and then grabbing branches with their trunk and kind of coming down, or what they're actually after is pods of a tree. With the seeds in it, and so they'll kind of reach up and try and grab them. Sometimes they break a whole branch just to maximize the amount of pods that they can get. They love it. It's like their favorite candy. So particularly in places like Lower Zambezi and Mana Pools, the two of them, you see it quite regularly from those elephants. It just amazes me the strength that they've got and how delicate they can be in their approach to breaking things. You know, you would think that they would have a tough time manipulating branches and breaking them and all that kind of stuff, but actually it's pretty easy for them. They just use their trunk and their tusks and feet, and the combination of the three makes for a pretty effective tool at breaking branches with minimum effort. So Kayla, remember that with elephant bulls that they don't always travel in herds, often on their own. So they're not like the cows and the calves that all stick together. The bulls go off on their own. They're sometimes with other bulls. Sometimes they're trailing a herd if there's a female that's coming into estrus. But they don't typically form part of a herd group. So it's not uncommon to see a bull like this. In fact, it's more common to see bulls like this than it is to see them in a herd of elephants. So yeah, he's probably just on his own, although I did hear a branch breaking a little further afield, so it might be another bull around. Like I say, they often do travel in little groups of bulls, sometimes like 4 or 5 of them together, traveling around like a little boy band. But at the moment he's just on his own, and he'll be quite happy to be like this. He's big enough and strong enough to defend himself, so he doesn't have to worry about being on his own. He can just do his own thing, feed when he wants to, go to water when he wants to. There's no accountability for anybody else. Which is the way they like it. It's absolutely loving this marula branch. We're eating a lot of it lately, these guys. Between the jackalberries and the marula branches, a lot of them have been broken and the cambium kind of stripped off those branches. Funny enough, with the jackalberry, they're also eating the leaves quite a lot. I don't know why, it just is what they're doing. Maybe there's some sort of nutrient value in a jackalberry that we're not 100% sure of what it is, and they, as elephants, know that that's what they need. Look at how he's using his trunk and his tusks to break this. See how he's wedged it in between there and now. It's interesting, there's not a lot of leverage when he does it like that, so I don't know if there's some sort of way that he was trying to manipulate that branch. See, he's trying to just break off a small section of it. See, once he's got that little piece into the mouth, and then it's a slow feed from one side to the other, almost like a little piece of corn on a cob that people kind of eat. They just feed it through and then strip off all the outer layer and try and get that cambium. Sometimes they'll even take in a bit of the wood content, but just remember, like, hard pieces of wood from a big branch like that take a long time to digest. It's not going to be easy to extract a lot of nutrient from that very quickly, so that's why they target the cambium more than the actual wooded part of the tree. And what you'll see is you often hear the crunching and you think, oh, okay, well, they're eating the big branch, but then if you watch them closely, lots of pieces of wood particularly and bark are actually just spat right out. They just fall from the mouth and they eat very specific parts of that branch. Alright, so we'll probably leave our Ellie Bull now and go and see what else is lurking. Try and figure out if we can find maybe some tracks or something. Hopefully we'll get lucky.
It's actually quite a peaceful morning, just following Mr. Darkmane, our male lion, down the road here. He's walking at such a lovely pace. He walked past a few warthogs. Didn't see the warthogs, but that's okay. We weren't looking, were you, boy? He blends in so magnificently to the tawny background, the winter landscape. It is so barren. I mean, it was barren and very, very dry when I left. 6 weeks later, it's even more barren, if that's possible. It's so open. You can see for miles. I don't think we would have spotted this cat if it was spring or summer. So let's catch up with them. If he continues on this trajectory, we'll cross out of this property and we won't be able to follow him. But let's see where he ends up. A lot of animals out here relish the rain, and I am sure he is doing just that. It feels good on their skin, especially if they've got any sort of itchy bits, scratchy bits, parasites. He's listening quite intently. I obviously don't know what he hears. Oh, sorry. I had my foot on the brake. That's very naughty. Sometimes it's also nice to just stop and listen with them. I wonder what it is he's actually listening to. Dark means making it very easy for me this morning. I must say I'm very grateful. It takes a while to get back into your groove. 6 weeks is not that long, but it is also long. And it may take a day or two for me to get back into my groove, so he's making it very easy. And before we got sort of, well, I think there was a crash cut earlier, I was making a comparison between sharks and lions, which may sound completely absurd to some people. But actually, they're both apex predators in their own right, and they're really not that different. Their behaviors and their sort of roles in the ecosystem are exactly the same, albeit one is classified as a cartilaginous fish, and the other one is a very hairy mammal. It's the same at the end of the day. And we wouldn't want a world without lions. We wouldn't want them to disappear and vanish from the planet. That would be devastating. So we also don't want oceans without sharks. Dudley, what are you doing? He's either spotted something or heard something. Don't go off-road, boy. I'm just going to go a little bit closer down and see what he's doing. It could just be a bathroom stop, but let's see. I forgot we...
The tech issues continue, and so you're back with us. Sorry about that, everybody. I am sure we're going to have a few today. With this rain, it's going to cause all kinds of problems. So we'll try and hopefully mitigate that as much as possible. What we're going to do is we're going to try and just head towards the east, in the west and the north. I just got a report now that there's tracks for the dogs on Triple M going into Djuma, out of Djuma, into Djuma, out of Djuma, so they seem to be around that area. So we're going to just quickly scratch and see if we can't find them. It's going to be a bit of a ridiculous thing to try and follow them with this roof on, because this roof gets in the way of everything, and dogs are never easy to follow. So we're going to just check and see. Maybe we get lucky and they'll be on the road or on a kill or something. That would be nice if we can get them on a kill, because they'll be fairly static for a little bit. That's the case. So yeah, that's going to be the plan. You also never know with dogs. You can often, they find leopards or leopards are trailing them, trying to see if they can get any food out of the situation. There's always hyenas around as well, so I find dogs a worthwhile animal to go in pursuit of on weather like this, and they're very active in this weather. They run around and chase things all morning. It'll be a nice shot of adrenaline on a sleepy, drizzly, cold morning. I don't know why weather like this always makes me feel like I'm half asleep. It's like that perfect kind of weather just to be either having a lazy morning in bed or to be around a fireplace or something like that. If it's in the afternoon, it seems like not the greatest weather to be driving around an open vehicle. Funny enough, you can see some good stuff in weather like this. It's also, you see a lot of the nocturnals hanging out in weather like this. So I've seen, things like pangolins and the likes often come out in these kind of conditions. It's dark and dingy and cool for late into the day and also early in the evening. So it allows them a much longer period of being active and out and about. Hello, little impalas. Those are looking quite miserable. Angie, bird species that are active in this weather? Nothing major. All birds are not going to be that chuffed about this, particularly birds that fly a lot. They don't particularly enjoy this at all. So there's not really many that are happy in this kind of in these kind of conditions. I can't think of any off the top of my hand that are. I suppose things like cormorants and darters really makes very little difference for them, although they can't dry their feathers after they've been diving around looking for fish. So, I think all birds struggle a little bit with this. Their feathers take a bit of a pounding in this kind of weather. So none of them can particularly thrive. The only nice thing for birds when you get weather like this is that it can often trigger allets to start coming out of the ground. So little winged termites, which is a plethora of food for the birds. And so the birds enjoy that, particularly just after the rains. Maybe this evening we might see some termites starting to come out and starting to get going. Our impalas have moved off, so we shall carry on too. Shame they're looking thoroughly miserable this morning. Furs all puffed out and they just kind of hunkered down. Must have been a cold and miserable night for them last night. Shame, guys. Such pretty animals, though. Do enjoy impalas. Stay safe out there. I'd imagine if Thandi and Kalamba haven't made kills, they're going to be looking to make kills in this weather. Good weather for them to hunt in. Thandi's always been a big exponent of this kind of weather. She likes the soft patter rain and kind of dark mornings. Even though most cats will sort of curl up and not want to move too much, she's often quite active in this kind of weather. She finds it easy to hunt in, so I think she utilizes it when she can. All right, we'll continue our journey westwards. In the meantime, let's send you across to Lauren. Seems like dark main is proving to be a bit active this morning.
I'm not up to very much, Tristan, but Darkmane, he's stalking. The wild beasts have no idea. It's amazing to see him spring into action like that. We tease Darkmane because he sleeps a lot, but it's coming from the heart. Immediately, he went into stalking mode. He went down on the ground. Because for a predator like Darkmane, and like leopards, it's all about camouflage. We all know this. So they really cannot, in any way, shape, or form, afford to be seen. The minute they're seen, the game is over. And they have no idea he's there. They're playing, they're canoeing, they're skipping, having a jolly good time. It's not going to be jolly for much longer. Once they realize Darkwing's here, right next to the pole. Gotta love a polecat. I just don't want to turn on the engine just yet. And again.
Once again, I'm actually going to not even say sorry anymore. It's just happening a lot this morning. So we're back with us. We are on Aubrey's Road at the moment. I just want to check here quickly before I head a little bit further to the west, towards Triple M. There's been a lot of tracks for, I think it's Kalamba, around this section. So yesterday morning, the afternoon before, there was that drag mark in this area that we thought was maybe for her. So just wanted to come along just in case she's still in this section. I mean, I know she covers a lot of ground and it's not always the best recipe to find her, but you never know. Maybe she has a kill and she's hoisted it, or something. We can pick up some sign of her. Yeah, she's been so elusive of late and miss seeing her, so that's why not just quickly bumble this road and just check if there isn't some sort of sign of her. It's interesting to see Darkmane hunting that buffalo herd. I wonder if the Talamatis are not there too. I wonder if there's not a kind of situation where the pride is behind the herd on the other side, because yesterday when we saw the Talamatis, I know we didn't get them live, but we had them and they crossed into Little Gari and they were watching that buffalo herd, very, very interested. So we know the last time that the Talamatis came across that buffalo herd, they chased them around for a good 4 or 5 days before they were successful. They managed to maim that one bull and then kind of kept harassing them, and eventually were able to bring him down. So maybe that's what's happening down there. Unfortunately, it sounds like Wendy's got an issue, so she's going back to camp. So you're stuck with me, everybody, for the foreseeable future. It's going to be interesting because where I'm heading is a no-signal area. Well, not a no-signal area, but it's a bit up and down. I'll have to take a slightly different route to what I first planned, and then go back around and up. So we won't be able to go to Triple M directly from where we are now, which is a little bit unfortunate. So I'm just driving very slowly. In this kind of weather, it can be very tricky sometimes to pick up, particularly leopards. I find their coat goes a little bit darker and it's difficult to see them, so I just want to go slow. April is 7 years old. How come lions don't mind the rain but won't swim? Well, April, the lions don't particularly like the rain, but they have to just endure it because there's no way of escaping rain for them. They can't go into a bedroom or into a covered area, so they have to just get wet. I can probably say with certainty that they really don't want to be wet, but they have no ability to escape it. Whereas swimming, they have a choice. They don't have to go through water and swim. They can rather go around or go over rocks. And in some places where they again don't have a choice, they have to cross water channels and there's no ability to cross in a place that keeps them dry, you'll find lions actually become quite home in water, and they swim a lot. So we had a pride down in the south of the Sabi Sands at one point called the Charleston Pride, and it was a female and 2 sub-adult males, and they used to lie in the river. They used to sleep in the river. So they would go onto the river and then they would lie down and they would just rest in the water with their head on a sandbank, so that they were kind of, the body was just in water around the sort of tail height, and then they would sleep on the sandbank, and they used to do it often. So they used to like the water. So it just really depends on the individual and how they've grown up and what's kind of been their sort of introduction to water. But just remember why they're fearful of water as well, and why swimming is something that they're scared of, is that we have a lot of crocodiles out here, and crocodiles will eat lions. And do very often. So they're nervous of crocodiles, and they don't want to get into a position where they have to try and fight a crocodile in an environment that is foreign to them. Remember that swimming to them doesn't allow them to move the way that they would be able to on land. So they try and avoid water for those reasons. It's not that, you know, they enjoy rain, and it's not that they don't like swimming. It's just that there's factors that contribute to that. So, you know, and crocodiles are one big driving factor of why they don't swim a lot. Okay, little Preston Franklins, out the way. Come on. Don't think they want to run in the long grass, which is understandable. I think their feathers are probably quite wet. Okay, yes, it happens fairly regularly actually. I've seen prides of lions hunting multiple antelope before. So that you'll find, like, let's say impalas, for example, they'll rush the impalas, and then for some reason impala might run into one lioness and another one runs into another, and they'll take them down and feed on them. So it does happen. I've seen it with buffalo too. We had the Birminghams once that killed 7 buffalo in one night. On the same little open clearing. So the 5 Birminghams and 7 buffalo. And then I had the 2 evokers from the south, so not the ones that we see up here, not Blondie, Mohawk or Darkmane, the other 2, the older brothers. I had them also once kill 7 buffalo in a single night, which was pretty crazy to watch. They just massacred them and didn't really eat any of them either. It was just during the drought, and it was easy picking, so they did it. Hyena and civet have walked here today. Well, not now. The civet was not so long ago, but the hyena was early evening by the looks of things, before the rain. Stay on, roof. This roof has become so unsteady. Got to be careful about the bumps that we take. Alright, so like I said, I was supposed to head west, but if I head west from where I was, I don't get signals, so I have to come back east to go back south and then go west from there, which is what we shall do, and hopefully we'll pick up a sign of the dogs on that side.
Civilizers just found some black rhino tracks. A mother with a calf. The calf tracks are so small. They're somewhere here in this area, but it's too dense to walk this way. So we're gonna walk around where it's not so dense. Let's hope we get lucky.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward and deposit the scent mark, which is that what they use to patrol their territory.
We managed to get a glimpse of the black rhino, but for safety reasons, of course, we held back and we walked a different way, but it was such a fantastic experience. We didn't just focus on the big things, because it's not all about the big things. We focused on army ants and lots of dung. Civilized did an incredible job, but it's up to the judges now.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we haven't made much progress. We got waylaid a little bit by a tortoise that was on the road and went off into the thicket. So we haven't gotten far, but we are still kind of heading south. Like I say, we eventually bend round back westwards again. Hopefully Wendy will be sorted soon so that Lauren can get back to Darkmane if he's stalking buffalo. I don't even know where that was. I haven't had my radio on for a while now, just because I've been live for a lot of it, and it often can be very chit-chattery on the radio, make a lot of noise. I typically leave it off when I'm live and then just turn it on when I come out of it, so we'll do that just now. But yeah, I'm sure she'll want to get back and see what happens there. I don't think it will be a quick process if he does hunt those buffaloes, so it'll be good if she can get back, although I'm pretty sure he's going to have a tough time. If it's that big herd, one male lion against all those buffaloes, tough, not going to be easy. It's interesting, no tracks to speak of for Tlalamba this side. I was hoping we were going to pick something up on Gallagher's shortcuts, which is the road we're on now, or Aubrey's road, but nothing for her, or nothing that's fresh anyway. This bit of rain that we've had has been so soft that it's not really enough to actually erase the old tracks. It's enough to just put a bit of water on the road and harden the roads up completely, but it won't be enough to actually erase the roads and make them a blank canvas. But what is nice is if they're walking now, because it's still damp and wet, the soil is sticking to the feet, and so you can actually see the tracks pretty clearly. They have this very dark appearance to them, much darker than what you would see on a normal track. So like if you have a look here in the road in front of me on the left, there's tracks for impalas where they've crossed. So you see how it's like much darker than the rest of the road, where their little feet have hit. And so the cat tracks will look exactly like that as well. They will take on a similar kind of tone. So you can always tell when things are fresh, and you know if you find them and there's not a lot of rain on top, that you're in the pound seats and things should be really good. All right, onward. Yes, Rusty, I know. You're big and powerful. Michael, I mean, I suppose it's possible. We've seen so little of her that it's definitely possible that she could have, but I just don't know which one, because theoretically, if you think about it, Klangula's really the only one in Buffelshoek that's been seen actually mating before. Tabangumi Kara's tried with him, she's flirted with him, and he just chases her away. So it doesn't seem like he's quite latched on to the, oh, that's what I need to do phase. So I don't know if he would have done anything, and to be honest, if it's Tlalamba and Tabangumi, you should find them. Both are relaxed enough to find them and audio to be produced. So I think we would have seen that. And then the Timavati male, I suppose he could be a little wild card. I don't know if anyone's seen him mate, but he's old enough to do so. So yeah, I mean, maybe she has, but those would be the only ones, because you've got, and then I say like in Klangula, but he's far to the north, and I haven't seen Columba, or no one's seen her head up that direction. It's not to say that she hasn't, though. It's possible. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting little phase now, because if she's got cubs or she's denned, her behavior of late is going to make finding the den tricky, which is okay. That's fine. I mean, she can hide the cubs, and eventually, hopefully, we'll see her coming out with them. But what it is going to do is it's going to set back the habituation process quite heavily. Tandi with Marifs, while we didn't have a lot of time with them, they still saw vehicles from early on. So James found them pretty early, and then there was like smatterings, or kind of, what would we call it? Yeah, smatterings of sightings here and there of them. And then they went across to Torchwood, where they were seen quite regularly from the camp, and the guys bumped into them every now and then when they were going in and out of the camp. So they got exposure to vehicles pretty early on, and the two were okay, and then the one was lost, and just became down to Marifs. And he was quite shy for a while, and then vehicles started to find him. So hopefully with her we won't have a situation where the cubs are too, or cub is too skittish, but we'll need to start trying to find them and spend time with them pretty early on. Now again, you might see him pause hand, wiping the lens. I apologize, not really much we can do. This light rain like this, just driving, is sucking the rain in and hitting the front glass, which makes it difficult. So he's going to be wiping a lot, so I'm not going to say sorry every time his hand comes in front of the screen. Just know that it is going to happen. It's not a lot you can do when you're in these situations. Hello Impalas, it's us again. Martin, no, not really. Rain doesn't make life easy for insects at all. Remember that they also, a lot of them are winged, and so rain affects their ability to fly. You can imagine what a drop feels like to an insect this size. It's like a massive big bucket of water being poured on us, so they're not comfortable to fly in that. So yeah, they don't do that well. Also, it drops the temperature, and insects need warmer weather to be very active. When it's cold, they struggle. That's why some people will actually put them in the fridge when they're trying to photograph them, which is really not very good at all. Please don't do that if you are somebody that likes to photograph insects. It's not very fair on them. It's like shoving you in a whole pack of snow and then waiting for you to kind of slowly die. So they can't produce their own body heat by shivering, or like mammals do. They're not warm-blooded, so they need sunshine to be fairly active. So rain often brings cold, and that means they struggle a little bit with being able to move around in the rain. Right, let's try this again. It'd be nice if the dogs are on sandy patch. That'd be cool. Wishful thinking, but it would be cool. I actually can't even remember the last sighting I had of wild dogs that was remotely decent and didn't last all of about 3 seconds. It's been a long time since that has happened. So I will be quite happy if we find dogs. Especially dogs that are fairly stationary. That would be quite nice. It's asking for a lot, I know. This is where you also want to find tracks on top of your vehicle tracks, like a female leopard or something. You know they're super fresh. Alrighty. Shame some of the birds also look horrendous this morning. Let's do it. If a lion died, what animal would eat it? So sometimes nothing, but flies, essentially maggots. break it down. Sometimes hyenas and jackals will get stuck in. Depends. I've seen carcasses that nothing's really touched, and other ones where hyenas and jackals have taken it apart and eaten pretty much most of it. So yeah, but insects, a lot of it will be insects. So the flies, like I say, they will grab a lot of it. You'll get these little scarabs, beetles, carcass beetles, they'll all be involved there as well in breaking down of a lion, and it'll eventually just be nothing left of it. It'll be just a skeleton that's just left behind. Okay, Rusty, calm down. Rusty just like wants to go. It's like all the time. To kind of slow it down all the time. That's why I love this car. It's got the ability to go when it needs to go. A little Swenson spur file. I'll have a little look at this, given that we've been driving for a little bit. These guys often look horrendous in this kind of weather. They look as though they're thoroughly miserable and unimpressed by this kind of weather. Quite easy to identify with that little red face. There's no one else out here that looks remotely similar. So, nice one to learn early on if you're new to birding. This kind of drab brown with that red face is pretty easy and diagnostic for them. But off they go into the rain. So quiet with this rain, it just mutes everything. You know, imagine if we got a pangolin now, that would be cool. I remember a guy that came to work in the Sabi Sands, and he started working at Simambili, and he had to come drop something off at Djuma. It was his like second night in the Sabi Sands, and he found a pangolin right here where we are now, just walking across the road, which is pretty crazy. All right, let's leave our spur files. I want to just turn down towards Impala Plains. If those dogs did come in, they should be somewhere around this area. I can't, unfortunately, carry on with vertical access because, again, signal, so I have to take this road. Tortoise Pan has been a bit absent of late, hasn't he? We had a good run of him for a week where we had him pretty regularly. In the last couple weeks, just not days, it's just more than a day, maybe the last week, he's been very absent. I haven't seen any signs of him. I saw yesterday when I was driving on Triple M, there was tracks for a female and male leopard, so I imagine it's him that's walking around. But Mulawati also does in that section of Triple M too, so it would be difficult to know exactly which one. Mulawati does have slightly bigger paws though. There's tracks for hyenas. So when I see tracks for hyenas, I often just want to stop and have a little look and check carefully, because if dogs are in town, hyenas are often following, and so you can sometimes get the dog tracks lost in amongst the hyena tracks. So always good just to make 100% sure when you see a couple of hyena tracks and here there's two different individuals walking side by side, that you make sure there's no dog tracks in amongst it, especially for a pack that's only 4. Their tracks can easily be obscured in amongst hyena tracks. This weather is delightful. Seems to be getting worse too. Oh, Victor, just yesterday. See the strawberry leopard all the time. There's no strawberry leopard in the Sabi Sands, never, not that I've ever heard of. So, yeah. The strawberry leopard is basically a leopard with leucism that was seen, I think it's only been on camera traps. I don't even think anyone saw it in real life, in Madikwe, which is far from here. There's been no strawberry leopards this side. So, yeah, I've never seen one. is the answer to that. And there's very, 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 very few people that have seen the strawberry leopard in the wild. In fact, I think it's, well, I don't know, the percentage would be actually quite interesting to know, but it would be less than 1%. In fact, not even. Probably be like 0.0001% of the population of humans have seen strawberry leopards. So yeah, no indication of them even in the Sabi sands. I've never, like I say, never even heard of them. Same with black leopard. A lot of people ask about that. Sabi sands, as far as I know, has never recorded a black leopard. Not the right kind of place for a black leopard. That black comes through and it has is almost like an adaptation to darker areas. You see it a lot in more forested sections. Up on the escarpment here in a place called Leidenburg, there was black leopard reports there, and then there's black leopards in reports in Ethiopia, Kenya quite a lot, Tanzania, but yeah, this side, nothing in the Sabi sands that I know of. Alrighty, let's just check this side quickly. Power lines, Triple M, check that the dogs aren't running around there. I did see a track for a dog back there, but it wasn't fresh at all. It was looks like from yesterday, maybe, or the day before. Hyenas all over the top of it, and rain and everything else, so even if it was. Sounds like Wendy's got an issue, so Lauren is setting up on the dam cam for the morning. It's like when we get one car right, the next one goes, unfortunately. Alrighty, so if Lauren's going to be on the dam cam, what we'll maybe do is also just head a little bit further south. I don't know where she even had dark mane, like I say, or the buffalo. I suspect it must be somewhere in Twin Dams area. So I'm going to go that side. Ooh, a frog in my throat. From talking too much, I think. This is like Tortoise Pan's little track here. He likes to come in this little section and just touch into Djuma and then out again. So always worth just checking slowly and carefully in this area. What's this? Hyena tracks from before the rain. It looks like the dog tracks were here too. Just want to double check. No wild dogs there, up that way. Negative, no wild dogs down this way. No. Because the guys were telling me that the tracks for the dogs were running around this side. So I just want to double check. Alright, I'm going to just check down a little bit further and just see if there's any sign of the dogs crossing either side. Try and see if we can pick up some footprints.
We're just admiring the rainy day on the dam cam here. Unfortunately, there's lots of rain and mist on the lanes. Not going to be ideal, but at least on days like this, editors will be mobile. What we're going to try and do is just keep swiveling around here, give you a view of the dam, and see if anything is walking. Visuals are not entirely great. We need a little windscreen wiper. I'm just going to swivel around. Sometimes when you focus on one area on the dam cam, you actually miss what's happening on the other side. We need a There's also not much to work with. I'm going to slow down now, and we're just going to give some lovely Gowrie Dam through the mist. Oh. There we go. And see if we can see anybody in the rain. Well, everyone, I'm back on the dam cam. It's rather unfortunate. Darkmane was hunting. I've sent all the details to Tristan. He's probably going to head that way, but it looked very, very promising. He was really interested in all those wildebeest, and the wildebeest had no idea he was there. So, wow. Unfortunately, I'm on the dam again. I'd rather be out there, but that's okay. We can have lots of discussions. So please do send in your questions and comments and jokes. Riddles, anything. Please do talk to me. I am just scanning around to see if I can see anything happening. But of course, now that the rain is falling, liquid water is going to be available everywhere. Even just on the leaves, you'd be surprised at how much moisture animals can get from just the vegetation alone. I was surprised when we went to the Namibian desert. There's no water anywhere, and yet the animals are full of moisture. And that's because you can attain water in many, many different ways, not just in the form of going to a pond. And the vegetation, that's key. Holds in moisture, especially in the leaves. So send through all your wonderful questions and clicks if you like. Don't see much happening this side. Ranger, so good to hear from you. I haven't heard from you in a while. I think you said snail. Yes, indeed. And giant land snails are going to come out. Tortoises are already out, I believe, and the whole entire landscape's going to transform. And what amazed me, you all know that I sort of come from the ocean, although I spent a fair bit of time on land before that. But what amazed me in this ecosystem, this environment, is how little moisture is actually needed to nourish the land, and everything starts emerging. It's really not... I'm just going to use window wipe. Would you like the sound of... And it's really, you don't need a certain amount of rainfall, really, for things to start to change, things to start to emerge. It's, one, it nourishes the landscape, of course, for the vegetation to grow, but two, it's a cue, almost, for certain species to wake up, certain species to emerge. It's the cue of spring or the cue of the onset of summer. And already we saw a leopard tortoise. It's great news. Snails will start coming out. Snakes will start moving. Insects will start flourishing. And it happens quickly, and that surprised me out here. It doesn't take much. But I have to say, we would not have spotted dark, or Davy would not have spotted Darkmane this morning if it was just that little bit thicker. So although I love summer, naturally it comes with a challenge. I'm so glad we had... I mean, he was really, really going after wildebeest. I don't know if he's going to be lucky or not, but at least it gives Tristan a chance to check up on something and promise. anything moving, just try and see. We can maybe continue our wet, soggy bird competition. Lara Moore, I appreciate where you're going with that, but which land animal is most similar to an ocean animal? Do you mean in terms of social structure? Do you mean in terms of behavior? Do you mean in terms of genetic taxonomy? I'm not really sure where to take that question, but I was talking earlier about the sort of similarity between sharks and lions. So although they're completely different, I mentioned that earlier, I'm just going to give you a view of the time because there's really not much happening. They still have the same role in the ecosystem. And my little secret project in Maldives, which is not that much of a secret, we went after sharks and rays. And it was really amazing to fully understand the interconnectedness of all organisms. I think that's what I took away from my experience. No matter wherever you go, you need to learn. Although I did specialize in the ocean now, I'm still learning, and it was just amazing to see the interconnectedness. And what I took away from my trip was that, although I guess I've always known this, no species in the entire animal kingdom, including ourselves, can survive in isolation. They can't survive without one another, organisms, and they also can't survive without their environment. They are intrinsically linked. It takes a suite of species, if you like, to make up a healthy ecosystem. Every single thing, from the tiniest little insect to the biggest mammal to the slimiest amphibian, they are all integral parts of a healthy ecosystem. And that's when you start changing, or when humans start interfering, that balance gets slightly upset. That's when we get problems. And I really, really took that away from my experience, that each organism is dependent on and can affect others within the ecosystem. And what that actually means is that there's great interconnectedness between the smallest and the largest of animals who seemingly have nothing to do with one another. So you may think that there's no relationship between a butterfly and a lion, but that's not actually the case. Sometimes there's greater interconnectivity between the smallest and the largest. For example, coral, which is an organism, it's in the jellyfish family, is really strongly linked to sharks, and yet they are one of the smallest organisms that sometimes are overlooked, and sharks are one of the biggest. I hope I'm making sense here, but sometimes you've got to look at the bigger picture, and we all forget to do that, really, we do. Naturally, even myself, we all forget to look at the bigger picture. Sometimes we just tend to focus on one species. And I think that's the way that conservation is moving forward. You can't on one single species. Yes, we want to save them all, save the rhino, save the lion. Yes, absolutely, every organism should be saved, but we've got to stop looking at it on an individual basis. And I really took that away from my experience. Such a good trip. I'll tell you all about it. You're also welcome to ask about it. And that was sort of the message that I took away. I came away really blown by how everything is truly connected. We actually spent a fair bit of time on seagrass beds. Doesn't sound interesting. I mean, seagrass is just grass that grows on the ocean, right? No, actually not grass at all. It's a flowering plant. It's very closely related to orchids and lilies. And we spent a phenomenal amount of time just swimming through the sea, finding these tiny little crustaceans, mollusks, sharks, rays, turtles that all depend on the seagrass. And it was amazing, the link between seagrass and these organisms. You remove the seagrass and you're having a massive knock-on effect on all those organisms I mentioned. And sometimes it takes immersing yourself in that environment to realize, this is all connected. And that's what I'm going to do my very best to apply this. And hopefully I will not be on the jam cam. And really try and just connect the dots for myself and for all of you guys as well. And I think it's always just important to touch base on that point. Nothing in this world, including ourselves, can survive in isolation. be it the apex predators, be it the insects. And I think, in my opinion, that's sort of been forgotten over time. Humans are trying to reverse all the damage that's done, and we've not focused on the interconnectivity. Oh, we have a lapwing. How joyous. Thank you, lapwing. Okay. Spend time with my little lapwing here, and I very much look forward to your questions, and hopefully something else will appear on the dam cam.
Free diving is the purest way to experience the great African sea forest. Silently gliding through the long kelp fronds allows you to reconnect with nature and explore this enchanted world. Sea Forest is a brand new daily experience coming soon on the WildEarth channel. You will explore an underwater forest live from Cape Town, while a team of naturalists explain what we are seeing.
Like trees in a forest, these kelp provide food and shelter for many, many species.
Magical encounters with shy marine life, crustaceans, sharks, seals, and so much more will all bring a window of calm into an otherwise chaotic world.
We're in the center of the reserve. It's a much more open area, so a completely different experience. It's also in the afternoon, so just a little bit hot, shall we say. We're following some lion tracks, and then we found the scat of a lion cub. So we didn't see the lions, but we decided to leave the area. It was getting a bit too dense and a bit too thick. So we've come all the way down to the water hole to have a little break, and then we're going to keep walking and see what else we can find. And TJ himself actually reminded us at the start of the walk that when you're on the vehicle, it's all about observing. But when you're on a walk, it's all about immersing yourself in nature, being part of the ecosystem. And that's exactly what happened today.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops! Oof!
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
I'm still sitting watching the rain, but I must say Davia's just brought me a cup of too much coffee this morning already. And maybe it's better to be inside and have discussions. And of course, brought the rain with me, that's for sure. We saw fresh leopards. Well, I actually need to mention that Tristan. We've been trying to fix a vehicle on Zoe's road, so it leaves lots of promise. Maybe. I have missed them. It's amazing. You spend time with other animals and you miss the animals, you know, but it really was fantastic in the ocean. Such a trip. Being underwater with these organisms that are so familiar, yet also so foreign. And I know people sometimes are scared of the ocean or they don't understand the ocean, but I think we need to force ourselves as a collective to continue to learn more. And sharks are the most perfect example. Let's face it, most people are terrified of sharks, especially tiger sharks. Especially 12 of them. We went diving with 12 of them. And I fully understand why people are scared. And it has got a lot to do with that book that was then turned into a movie that we all know called Jaws. I'm sure the author was Peter Benchley, something like that. And of course, Steven Spielberg turned it into a movie. And it did so much damage. I mean, we all now think anytime we jump in a body of water, we're going to get snapped by this giant man-eating machine. And it's not the case at all. Sabi and I went swimming with 12 tiger sharks, and not once did they ever look at us. They were interested because they're not man-eaters. And Steven Spielberg has actually apologized for the damage he's done. He's realized that movie that he produced has caused a lot of damage to shark populations indirectly. And therefore, he's now a shark conservationist. He's now tried to come back from that, realize he's made a mistake, and transform the way that shark. And I mean, we are not born with the fear of sharks. We're not born with it. It's actually got a name. It's called galleophobia. It's the name of being scared of sharks. And it's something that we grow as we sort of learn. It's not nature, it's nurture. We develop this fear. And at the end of the day, it's the fear of the unknown. Really. I've been underwater with huge shark. Is, you know, you take a big gulp, you think, ooh. It's also very calm. That was the first thing Dobby said when he came out of water. I can't believe how calm that experience was. You look into their eyes and you understand there's a soul there. So just as much as we relate to Darkmane and we relate to Osana and we relate to Tansy on so many different levels, even Ribbon, we need to sort of start relating to these animals in the ocean too, even although they are foreign. They are very different from what we're familiar with. Even manta rays, the most bizarre looking animals ever. It takes time for your head to get around a man. What, man? But once you get there, you realize what magnificent, majestic, and graceful animals they really are, and their populations are. We need to force ourselves to learn about all these organisms before it's too late. Carla, great question. To be honest, a tiger shark would be the answer. I've briefly seen a tiger shark in Fiji, but we actually went to a specific place in the south of Maldives just to look for shark. And on one dive, swimming with 12. Yeah, you look in front, there's a tiger shark. You look behind, there's a tiger shark. Oh, there's tiger sharks everywhere. And thresher sharks were also there. If you're not sure what a thresher shark is, Google it. And I think that is my first real experience with them. I'm trying to think of anything else new. Swimming in the seagrass bed was new for me. Maldivians have not a great history with seagrass. The government actually encouraged all the resorts to pull out their seagrass beds because, are you ready? They are ugly. Yes, ugly. Believe it. So all the resorts pulled out the seagrass beds because they didn't look nice, and they completely destroyed the larger ecosystem because they have a function. The seagrass is there for a reason. And now, of course, we're realizing that we need to let the seagrass beds grow back again, even though they are not aesthetically pleasing. Some, though I think they're gorgeous. They're really, really important there. So it was my first time swimming in amongst the seagrass in Maldives. I think it was it. I have seen everything before, but it was still unbelievably wonderful back. It was very special. And we chose to go in monsoon season. We got caught in a few really interesting tropical storms because that's when the manta rays come. We went for the manta ray season. And I've spoke about this before, but it's just a very special little bay, a concave little bay on the edge of the atoll. It's just where it's positioned and the shape actually traps plankton. And there's really, to be honest, no other ecosystem on Earth or realm that is more diverse than the realm of plankton. Once you start to learn about plankton, wow, it just blows your mind. And we don't even fully understand it as humans, as scientists. We don't really understand who's who in the realm of plankton. Of course, the plankton do, but we don't. There's so much more we have to learn about that. But anyway, the presence of plankton, zooplankton, brings in the mantas and bring them in singularly or in small groups. It brings them in hundreds. There was one day we were swimming with, I think it was 189, to be precise. It's a very random number, but we were swimming with 189 manta rays all in one go. You know, you can't move, you're surrounded by them. You can't free dive down, they're below you. You can't come up, they're above you. You can't turn to the right or the left. And that was really quite magical. And the mantas are there for the plankton. Once again, everything's connected. Tiniest little plankton to the largest manta ray. They depend on each other for survival. And plankton, it comes from a Greek word actually, planktos. And it means wandering because they can't control their movement. They're drifters. They have no power, they can't swim like fish, they just drift. So wherever the current takes them, they go. And that's what plankton is. So it's not actually one specific organism. It's any organism you can call plankton, that it drifts. So some species like coral or even starfish, they start off their life as plankton when they're in that little juvenile phase, when they're just drifting with the current until they settle or until they grow or until they develop. So plankton is just a general term for anything, and it can be from the tiniest little microscopic animal to the animals larger than a blue whale. There's actually a very cool TED talk on plankton, and you should just listen to it, and it'll really blow your mind how little we understand about plankton, and yet how crazy and diverse a realm it really is. Somebody. Is it you, Mr. Grey Heron? We spent time with your species in the mall. Heron's a wide species. When? Can you repeat that question? I didn't catch it. Didn't catch that name. Which animal has the worst reputation? I definitely think sharks, although I've already mentioned it, they have a terrible reputation. Literally, people do believe they are man-eaters. Now, they're not interested in eating sort of my layers of fat and bone. They want blubber. They want seals and sea turtles. They don't want humans, and a lot of shark attacks are just bites. They're not, you rarely hear of, I don't think it's ever been recorded of a person that's swallowed whole. So it's a bite, and then the shark realizes, oh no, this human is not tasty. There's a lot of fat there on that girl, but it ain't what I want. And I think sharks are a big category reputation. And I read a study the other day out of 96 movies that were made on sharks from Sharknado. Can you believe someone made a movie called Sharknado? What even is a Sharknado? Oh, my brain hurts. But anyway, from Jaws to Sharknado to Finding Nemo, only one movie portrayed sharks in a positive light rather than a negative light. Can any of you even think what that movie is? Only one out of all the movies that shark features in. And that just shows you what Hollywood and media are doing to sharks. It's time to maybe stop doing that, take responsibility, and stop portraying them crazy man-eaters. And I'm going to tell you, I was Finding Dory, and that's because, and the whale shark was friendly and had no teeth and was cute. It's the only movie that portrayed sharks in them, which is actually very mindful. I would also say snakes, in answer to your question. Snake can be dangerous. They can be lethal. They have venom. They can strike. They can sneak up on you. They can. Well, a Mozambican spitting cobra can even spit their venom. They're terrifying. They also don't have arms and legs. It's very difficult to relate to them. I love snakes, but I can understand why people are scared of them. I think snakes also have a I can put my hand up and say I was definitely one of those that was terrified of spiders. I just let myself get carried away with arachnophobia. Spiders can also be dangerous. Oh, Tristan's here. Hello, Tristan.
Hello.
Are you here for the tea party?
Not much else to do.
Tristan's jealous that I'm sitting inside drinking tea, so he's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Rusty was jealous.
Rusty's jealous. Oh, fabulous. You look lovely in your reindeer.
Thank you.
Soggy underpants. Great, everyone. You heard that. You heard that live. Soggy underpants. But I do feel I have to take a sip of my tea, everyone, or it's going to talk. A nice cup of Earl Grey. You got to love it. But that was a really good question. I think a lot of animals have undeserved reputations that have come from the human mind. That we just put this reputation, we just assume. And I think if you are scared, this is always my piece of advice, or you are unsure, force yourself to learn. Some of you will remember when I first joined, I had really severe arachnophobia. I was terrified, and I forced myself and to look, to learn about spiders. And I would say I'm pretty over it. I really, really appreciate spiders. I think they're actually fun. So if you're unsure or scared, force yourself to learn, and you'll be surprised at what a difference it makes. Even jellyfish, that's another one. Jellyfish, I've had some really terrible incidents with jellyfish. Go to hospital, the pain. But still, I appreciate them. I think they're actually really awesome. So bizarre from anything that we can understand. It's funny, when you talk to Australians, they have a really adverse reaction to all of these organisms, spiders, snakes, jellyfish, because of course they've seen it. We might be in for a live hunt here. Okay, we may have a live hunt in the dam cam with our grey heron here, so we're going to sit tight and watch. Not the most riveting scene, but one of my favorites. They're really remarkable. Common, but they are actually really remarkable. They hunt in quite a different way here than they do in the Maldives. Same species, different adaptations to their environment. And it's remarkable when you see a bird that you know of the low-veld, then you see it hunting and using completely. You can see it's standing remarkably still. It doesn't want to disturb the water column because fish can detect pressure change. The minute it moves, the fish can detect that movement through the change in pressure. They won't hear it, they won't see it, but they'll feel it in a sense. And that's why they move so quickly, like you want. They have to move naturally, but this little guy here is avoiding much movement. And fish detect pressure change through that lateral line. It's a line of jelly-filled pores. They really, really specifically smallest changes in pressure, which is just remarkable. That's how a lot of animals underwater know there's a big storm coming, or a tsunami, or a cyclone long before we do. They're not even using technology. can see the rain still falling on the dam. I don't think it's going to ease up anytime soon, but we're going to sit here and see what else we can find.
Good morning and welcome to WildEarth. We're live at Eco Training Bridelands and we are just about to start our bushwalk. We're not going to go very far today as rain is influencing our little game and we can't afford to get our camera equipment as well as our very specialized backpack wet, as the rain might potentially create a little bit of a problem with that. So we might just be around this little area, and if we have to take cover, we're just going to quickly put the things away for the morning and then come out again. So my name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we've got BK. Okay. We just want to get BK to reposition. He was doing a little bit of a balancing act there on a rock, and he's okay. Now he's just back. Okay. Okay. So we were thinking about a few things for this morning, as that we can't move very far away because the rain is being so close again, and I can feel a few little drops spitting again. And one of the things that I thought I'll share with you is some of the subjects that we actually teach the guides when we train them at Eco Training. And one of those subjects is actually geology. And geology is actually a very important subject, as we find that everything is based on the geology of the area as well as the climate of a specific area. And we find that specific rock types actually lead to very specific soil formations. We also find that specific rock types also lead to very specific landscape shapes as well. So just to give you an idea, we also do discuss how these rocks are actually formed. And when we look at rocks when they are formed, there's three major groups of rocks. And the ones that we are looking at here is dolerites, and they fall into a group of rocks which is known as igneous rocks, which literally means that they are fireborne rocks. And we can also divide these fireborne rocks into two main groups: those that are formed underneath the Earth's surface and those that are formed on top of the Earth's surface. So these, the dolerites, they're actually formed underneath the Earth's surface, where they've solidified, where the molten rock has solidified and cooled down at a very slow rate over a very long period of time. And after many millions of years of weathering, which is a process of breaking down rocks, and erosion, which is a transportation of that weathered material, they've now been exposed. The second group is extrusive igneous rocks, where magma or lava actually flows out on top of the Earth's surface and then solidifies. That solidification process takes place very quickly, and because of a quick process of solidification, those rocks have normally got small minerals, they weather fairly easy, and they lead to the formation of a very different soil type, which is generally more clayey in composition compared to the intrusive igneous rocks, which are generally more likely to be coarse-grained sandy soils. And we find on coarse-grained sandy soils, we tend to have more broadleaf plant communities, while on the clay soils, we actually tend to have more thorny plants to that occur there with very small leaves. Now, the second type of rocks, which we often look at, sedimentary rocks, and those are weathered material that gets deposited somewhere else and it becomes compacted over a period of time. It might be inside a lake or a marine environment where the formation of that takes place. We also find that they can form through chemical precipitation as well. Then the third type of rock types, which we teach the guides about, is known as a metamorphic rock. And metamorphic rocks are basically either sedimentary rocks or igneous rocks, which gets altered in their composition. And how they get altered is by means of heat as well as pressure, but they never get molten. So they become actually much harder quite often. And one of those altered rock types that we do find in this area often is banded ironstone. And banded ironstone is actually quite interestingly one of those rock types which was preferred for the making of Stone Age tools because of them being incredibly hard. There's a few other things that we want to point out: how rocks influence the environment as well as the animals that occur in it, as that specific animals will go into specific habitats, vegetation structures, for example. And quite often we find that many of the reptile species in this area likes these onion skin weathered rocks, where they will go underneath these little cracks and crevices. And one of them is plated lizards that we often find over here. So we're going to hang around here a little bit longer and see what else comes up. And hopefully we'll have a decent break between the rain so that we can have a few more discussions as well as question and answer sessions if there's anything specific that you would like to ask us.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
We had a very exciting start to our morning this morning. Today, it's our guided sunrise safari with Mike, and we started by looking at the moon through a telescope, which was incredible. It's been a very different drive from all the other ones, very interactive.
Your pigeal gland is something the hoopoes have in common.
Hi. This morning's drive with Mike was thoroughly enjoyable. He really engaged us, but we also did some birding, and I managed to add a few new birds onto my list. Overall, every single experience with all the competitors has been really incredible, but it's up to the judges now.
I love being a cam up for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're just going to continue our discussion on the geology and how it affects your environment. So we were discussing two types of rocks, igneous as well as intrusive igneous rocks, as well as extrusive igneous rocks. And just in a quick way that they do influence the environment, we find that one of those type of extrusive igneous rocks which we have in our environment is basalts, which we find a little bit further east from our position. And what I find particularly interesting is that basalts lead to clayey formation of soils, and you're going to have a large amount of different small leaf plants, such as the Chelias and the Senegalias. For those that are not familiar with those two terms, that's simply the name that we now use to describe acacias. So those plants are often preferred by a number of different browsers, and that's also why they evolve thorns to protect themselves. And one of the browsers that we find in areas where there's a large amount of thorn trees is always giraffe. What we also find is if we have coarse-grained sandy soils like the southwestern part of Kruger National Park, where there's a lot of granitic outcrops, where the large leaf plant species occur more often, we find that we have less browsers but more bulk grazers in those areas, as quite often we find that there's a lot of unpalatable grasses compared to the basalts areas, which often has very palatable grasses such as red grasses, which attracts a number of both bulk grazers but also selective grazers into that area. We also find that the geology can actually influence the birding community in a specific area. So within the thorn tree and small leaf plant community areas, we tend to find a far greater number of birds, but a lower level of species diversity. When it comes to broadleaf community, lower numbers, but a high level of diversity in terms of species. Good morning, Miley. And with regards to your question, if there's any animals that feed off the rocks, I've never seen anything feeding off rocks itself, but I do know that species such as porcupine has been recorded to actually sharpening the scissor teeth on rocks. But when it comes to rocks that have been weathered, there is a number of different animal species that will also feed on soil to obtain certain nutrients and minerals when those are absent in their diet. We also find that some species like herbivores, like giraffe especially, if they are in need of calcium and phosphorus, they will actually also feed on bones to actually supplement those nutrients and minerals into their diet. Good morning, Dean, and welcome to the show. And with regards to your question, there's going to be a variable number of answers to that. If snakes do like rain, if it's warm rain, they don't have a problem with it. If it's cold and it's a miserable cold front, they're going to remain out and they're going to remain in their hiding, and they're not going to be very active. They rather prefer heat. But one of the things that I do like doing, and I haven't done it for quite a while, and I'm really hoping that we are going to have some proper rain very soon one evening, and that's actually to go and road cruise. So on a warm summer's day with rain, go out on a tar road with a flashlight, and you can go and look for snakes. They love coming out directly after the rain then. So for those of you that are keen on herpetology, there's a number of interesting websites that you can go and look at the moment. And one of them that's quite educational is the African Snakebite Institute with regards to what they provide. It helps you also to how to identify snakes, and it's very important for both guides as well as enthusiasts about snakes to know how to identify venomous from non-venomous species. Well, we're going to link you into the Eco Training promo, and there's a lovely discount if you would like to come and join us on one of our guiding courses to learn more about reptiles.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
Sadly, my search for animals on Ala Dam Cam has not been entirely successful, but that's okay. Leopard lover. Thank you, dear. You actually sent through some questions to me. And some of them I have already touched on, but they're excellent questions. You're asking all about them all. And you want to know exactly what animals did we swim with. Well, there was a lot of them, I must say. And I've already mentioned the sharks and the mantas, but we spent a lot of time with eagle rays. Eagle rays are another type of ray, naturally, but they don't look anything like a manta. And they feed in an entirely different way, completely different social structure. Much smaller. We also spent a lot of time with stingrays, and stingrays are another sort of group of animals that have a really bad reputation, naturally, from Steve Irwin's accident. Crocodile. What was he again? The crocodile hunter. Wasn't he just the best? Well, naturally, he had a fatal accident with stingray, and that's exactly what it was, an accident. And a fluke, I think I'll say it once happened, but we spent a lot of time with stingrays, and I got to spend time with my favorite fish, the Titan triggerfish. Probably my least favorite animal, and if you haven't heard of this animal before, please Google it. It's a type of triggerfish, naturally, and it's huge, with almost human size. Not only that, they don't like humans, and if you swim over their nest, the females will chase you for miles and bite anything they can, be it your leg, your fins, your ear, and I am absolutely terrified. I understand that it's a mother, maternal instinct protecting her nest that you can't see, so you have no awareness that it's there. But my goodness, terrifying. Davi, there's a question for you, since you're here. I've got the whole gang here, everybody. David, did you enjoy yourself? How was the Maldives?
Incredible. Fascinating.
Was it your first time there? What was your favorite animal to see?
Tiger shark.
Tiger shark. It was Davi's first experience with any kind of shark, really, and he happened to choose the biggest ones. I mean, the tiger sharks are just a little bit smaller than a great white shark, but my goodness, they're beautiful. And the females dominate, so just like a hyena, I guess, it's all about the females. Females are larger and they rule the roost. It was really quite the experience, I must say. And leopard lover, last one, we didn't get to see any hatchlings, I'm afraid. There was a nest that was about to hatch and they put you on an on-call list. So you go on the turtle on call and you give permission to be called at any time, albeit 1 in, 4 in, when the nest obviously erupts. And they know when a turtle nest is about to hatch. Naturally, you've got a sort of count of days, a window of days. You know when it's roughly going to hatch, but it's never exact. So therefore, how they know when to start monitoring is that their sand sinks. Trusty's on his way back out. Have fun! And when you look at the nest, there'll be a sort of compression. There'll be like a sinking of sand on the top, and that's when you know there's movement inside. The eggs are hatching. And because there's sort of change in the sand underneath, that it causes a... What word am I looking for here? A compression in the sand, and that's your hint. You know, within a day or two, maybe even 3 days max, you're going to see baby turtles. And they only have energy for about 48 hours from the egg to make it to sea. And sea turtles actually have one of the lowest survival rates in the animal kingdom. I mean, it's only 1 or 2 out of 1,000. They really have it tough. And you sit there and you watch the hatchlings come up. So not only have they got to climb out of the sand, they've just hatched into the world. They've got to climb all the way out of the sand. When they get to the surface, when they get to the land, crabs are waiting for them. Birds are waiting for them. Predators in their own right. Then they've got to swim to sea. And it's maybe not that far in terms of distance, but for a tiny little sea turtle hatchling, that's far. Then once they get into the ocean, it's time to swim. Yay, we made it. Sharks, triggerfish, jacks, trevellies, all waiting for them. And then they've got to drift. They're not strong enough swimmers. They're tiny. They're smaller than the size of my hand. And they've got to drift with the currents for a long time, eating whatever they can, plankton, algae, until they get strong enough to start swimming, because of course turtles breathe air. So they need to learn how to duck dive, free dive. It's a tough life for a sea turtle. But there was a green turtle nest, but unfortunately it didn't hatch when we were there. But thank you, leopard lover. We spent a lot of time with grey herons, so honestly they're fantastic in the Maldives. They've completely adapted to life at sea. CJ, you're asking which ocean creature would I like most to see? Oh my goodness, I have a bucket list. I have a bucket list of land animals that I really want to see, and a bucket list of ocean creatures. One of them, I want to swim with the leatherback turtle, the largest of all sea turtle species. I'd love to swim with the blue whale. Hi, Morgan.
Hi.
Are you awake? Did you enjoy your lion? Okay. He enjoyed his lion, everyone. A great white shark, ultimately. I mean, I would, not in a cage, I would love to swim with a great white shark. I really would. And it's possible, and people do it, you don't need to be in a cage. I also think that putting down a cage, I understand you're protecting humans, but I'm not entirely in agreement with that. I'm trying to think what else I'd love to see. My favourite fish are frogfish. I really can't get enough of frogfish. Sadly, we didn't see any frogfish out there, but... Oh, there's so many. But I guess those are my top 3. CJ. Blue whale. Great white shark. and leatherback turtle. And there's so much that I want to see, even on land, so many continents to explore. And if you are an avid wildlife person, you should really keep track of all the animals you see. Make a list. Okay, a grey heron is now left at the water, so I think we're going to try and look around and see what else we can find. We're still on the jam cam naturally. Our grey heron has started to move, so I just want to check to see if we can see anything else moving. You never know what might walk by and you're too busy focusing on a grey heron. Look at that train. I think it's going to be like this all day. We'll start to see the foam nest soon. Snake tracks. When summer comes, we've got a bit to go yet, but when summer really does arrive, the bush gets a lot noisier. My goodness, at night time, it's not still, it's not quiet. It is so noisy. The frogs croak all night long, the migrant birds go, the insects buzz. It comes alive, really. The bush pulsates with life. I don't know if you can hear the rain like I can, but it's definitely relaxing. Because I'm not out there, of course. I'm going to keep scanning around and hopefully get lucky with some movement.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're just going to further our conversation on snakes. So when we do train guides, we also do train them on a number of different identification of a number of different venomous snake species, which does occur in this area. We also do provide training on the different types of venom which different snakes have. So those are generally the things that we discuss, as well as a number of interesting facts about specific snakes that does occur in our area. However, as guides, we do not handle snakes, and I would not recommend handling snakes without appropriate equipment as well as the appropriate training. As guides, we always give animals the best possible respect that we can, and the same respect that I would give something as big as an elephant or as a lion, I would provide to a snake as well. The only time that I ever will handle snakes is if I have to remove them from classrooms, buildings, and then I do so with appropriate equipment and safety equipment such as a pair of glasses in the case that you actually might be confronted by a Mozambique spitting cobra but would like to spit straight into your eye. And they're pretty accurate at approximately 2 to 2.5 meters at spitting at you. So one of the things that I also have found over the years as a guide, that the majority of guides that do get bitten by snakes are guides that actually handle them. And one of those snake species is known as a stiletto snake or burrowing asp. Quite often what guides then do, they confuse it for a harmless species, pick it up. But one of the things that these snakes have is fangs that are curving backwards. And then by simply twisting the head when the person is trying to constrict the snake, they get envenomated. And that can be leading to the loss of a limb. I think there's quite a few guides out there that has lost fingers in the past, specifically due to stiletto snakes or mishandling adders. Good morning, Paul, and welcome to the show. And with regards to your question about water snakes, I've not seen any water snakes in this area that are normally associated with water. But one of the snakes that I do find over here, which does often go into the water, and I was looking at the track a few days ago, is a fairly large python, which is frequenting the area of Leopard Dam, and it moved back into the dam again. And quite often what they will do is they will wait in ambush quite close by to the edge of the water and then grab whatever comes to their way. One of the things that I also find particularly interesting about pythons is that they've got heat-sensitive little pits at the side of the mouth, and that can create an infrared image, so they can strike at total darkness at their potential prey. While we're sitting over here, we're going to just link you to the WildEarth expedition for 2022.
Hopefully you guys will be able to come and join us on an expedition at some point, and you can enjoy, well, some of you might enjoy the rain that is falling on an expedition, see what it's like to be out. Oh, we're right there. Or was my head in the way? Because I can reposition if it is. Yeah. But anyway, it is tanking down. We're back out again. Tech has worked their magic to get us back out. So it's going to be a wet last bit for us. I feel like Paul and I drew the short straw this morning. Lauren is safely tucked in FC, away from the rain, and well, it's not raining where JP is, miraculously. So I feel like we've definitely lucked out, Paul, but it's okay. It'll be a fun morning anyway. This bull elephant is the same one we had when we started the show. It was just kind of getting out now, and he's just made an appearance. Sorry, let me get out the way here. Out of the rain. You can see it's coming down properly at the moment. It's raining hard. This is good, decent rain. Are you going to come say hello? Hello, boy. Are you intrigued by the fact that we have a roof today? Or do you want to come get underneath the roof? Is that what you want to do? But look at the water. You can even see the water dripping off his tusk. How epic is this? Hello, boy. You can hear him talking as well. It's a massive animal. Yes, we're also getting wet, boy. It's not very comfortable, is it? I'm trying to keep my head out of the way, and we have a roof on as well, so you probably can't see all of him because of it. So you're going to feed right next to us. It looks like displacement behavior that he's exhibiting, where they try and feed next to you. while they watch you, so they sit and pretend like they're eating, but meanwhile they're just sniffing and trying to work out what you are. Now, unfortunately, because of our rain roof, you guys can't see him, but he's standing right next to me here. And I'm not going to move until such time as he moves a little bit further. He's just sniffing the back of the car at the moment. Kai elephants do look beautiful in the rain. It's amazing just to see how the water's just kind of running off of him and where he's standing in the road. I wish I could show you. Unfortunately, with the way that the car is and with the roof and the covers and trying to keep all the equipment dry, I can't show you. But his whole area that he's been sitting, or standing should I say, is all gone muddy from the rain coming off his skin. So I'll show you now because he's walked off a little bit. I'll try and just turn. Oh, I love it. Down the back. Be a safari guide, they said. It'll be fun. So you can't see it because of the angle of the light right now, but in the road there was like a whole big mud patch where he was standing from it, all the rain coming off of his body and his feet. He's now just turned and decided that's where he's going to stand. I mean, that is as close as you can get to a bull elephant. He was probably, I reckon, if I look now where he's standing, maybe 2 meters from the car. And he had a good little investigation, sniffed the car, and then decided he's going to carry on and into the thickets here, where he's going to go and feed again. I mean, you can see how hard it's raining now. This is proper rain. The bush is going to take on a very different look by 3 or 4 days' time. It's going to be green and lush again, and it's going to be hard to find a lot of animals now. We're going to struggle, particularly on the cat front, like leopards. They have the opportunity now to drink all over the place. They don't have to come to water points. So, you know, the scratching around looking for cats at water holes is going to diminish, because all of the little mud wallows should full with this kind of rain. If this lasts the whole day, we're going to have decent rains that will have fallen. I was about to go and get changed and get out of wet clothes, but I'm so glad I didn't, because the rain is just getting heavier, and so we're going to be drenched by the end of this anyway. You'll also notice how his back is, the coloration on his back has changed. All the soil that was on his back from earlier has been washed off. His mud bath that he took, or sand bath that he took this morning, has not lasted very long due to the heaviness of the rain that's falling now. It's a big animal though. When he's over there, he doesn't look that large, but when he was standing right above us, you know, he towers over us. He's a large. Well, yeah, they do mud wallow in the rain sometimes. They find like a little patch of muddy sort of soil and they'll mess around in that. So yeah, they do it, but generally they wait until the rain's done before they start to wallow. They wait until everything sort of subsides a little bit, and then they go and roll in that nice fresh mud. There's going to be a lot of happy buffalo, rhinos, elephants, hippos at the site of this. It's going to make lots of nice mud wallows for all of them to go and mess around in the coming days that will be hot, because as much as it's raining today, we do know the heat will eventually come our way again, and it's going to get very warm, and so those mud wallows that will have been developed during this rain will be a welcome addition to the landscape for all of these guys. Also, every animal is going to be rejoicing that eats leaves or grass because they're about to get everything that they need. The cats will not be celebrating because things like buffalo are about to get all the fresh green grass that they can, and so their condition is about to improve exponentially, which makes it much harder for the cats to hunt them, or buffalo particularly. But all the animals will start to pick up condition again, and they'll become a lot fitter, healthier, and more likely to survive. So you can see a slow dismantling of a bush willow, and you can actually see in those bush willows where this elephant has been eating, or where it's currently eating, that elephants in the past have been here. Bush willows typically shouldn't grow in the way that you're seeing it like that. So you see all these bush willows are multi-stemmed, so they coppice from being broken. Every time an elephant breaks one of those branches, you get a coppicing effect, and you can get 2, 3, 4 stems that come off of that, and it actually starts to choke the system up a little bit. It's not ideal when they feed like that. Most bush willows should be kind of single stem going up, or single trunk, and then spread from there. But in areas where you get a heavy elephant influence, you don't see that. You see multi-stemmed bush willows, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and more stems as they expand outwards. So eventually you'll find that these bush willows will, like I say, almost choke the system. So that's why things like fire is quite important, just to reduce that effect. All right, we shall sit with our Ellie a little while longer. When there's no sign of Darkmane, there's another vehicle that's been looking for him since Lauren had him. Seems like his tracks went towards the southern boundary, so I think we'll just chill with our elephant for the remainder of the morning.
The WildEarth channel now runs for 24 hours a day and is filled with exciting wildlife experiences for the whole family. In addition to our twice daily live safaris from Africa, we launch Sea Forest. Free divers explore the great African kelp forest under the water in Cape Town, while naturalists on the surface explain what we are seeing in real time. Our Escape to Nature series features exceptional wildlife footage throughout the day, and here you can immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of nature. And finally, we are launching a brand new penguin experience later this month, where you can follow the lives of a group of African penguins daily and in real time. If you want to join in on these experiences, then head over to wildearth.tv/channel to see where you can watch. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
The scrap here collected a dry grass, put it next to the water hole as the hippo walks down during the warm of the day to drink the water. When the hippo arrives, he saw quite a very nice grass, an area not to resist to rest. And when the hippo went down to drink the water, and when finished the water, he just lied down on the grass. And then, that was the opportunity of the scrappy. You know what? Today is my day to pay the revenge.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, 2 to go.
Well, we're still with our elephant bull. It seems like the rain's going to ease a little bit now. I can see little bit of lightning in the, well, not lightning, but like lightning of the cloud in the distance. So it looks like it's lifting a little bit in places, although the south still looks pretty rough, which is where this mostly is coming from, is from the southeast. So I think we're still in for a bit of rain for a while. I'm not really looking forward to starting this car, because when you're stationary like this, all this rain collects on the roof, and then the first bump you hit, it comes splashing down all over you. It's a delightful effect that takes place in rain roofs. I often laugh because a lot of the time guests that come out here see the rain and they're like, oh, well, let's put a roof on. And so you put the roof on and they think that they're going to stay dry. But the thing about rain is when you're driving is that it comes in from the sides. If you don't have sides in the front, the rain still comes in and then it just collects on the top, and then you hit a bump and it comes splashing down all over everybody, and people get just as wet as if they didn't have it. So, you know, the only reason why we have them is because the equipment can't sustain being hit by rain. It's going to die if it does that. So cameras and things like that don't play nice with rainy weather. So we have to have a roof for that reason. It's actually not for any other reason, just the equipment. This bull is having a whale of a time today. He's had a very nice slow feed wherever he's been going, and had a little investigation of us, and I think he's just a happy lad today. Nija, I didn't catch all of it, Gwyn, because you broke up, but I think I got the gist. Do elephants ever break their leg from slipping in the rain? Is that right? Did you get the same thing, Mpho? Mpho also got so comms. Ah, there we go. That's right. I've never seen it personally, but I suppose it could happen. Accidents can happen, but they've got solid legs, so it would have to be a serious amount of force that's applied to that leg for it to break. Oh, look, he's throwing dust. I don't know how he's getting sand that's not all wet, but he's found a whole clump of it there. So yeah, it would have to be a serious fall and a lot of force applied, but yeah, I suppose it's possible. When you got that amount of weight and it comes down at an awkward angle, could very well lead to a pretty damaging leg injury. I've never personally seen it, but I'm sure it's happened. I would be very shocked if it hasn't. Like I say, there's a lot of force that's applied to an animal of this size when it comes crashing down, and so if it slipped in the mud and fell awkwardly, I would imagine it is quite possible that it could happen. The visuals are not 100% of this, but you can see little clouds of dust being thrown all over the place. You probably find that underneath the surface of the soil here, it's actually the rain hasn't seeped in too far yet. So if he just kicks with his feet, he can expose some nice, loose, soft soil that's not wet yet, and just kind of chuck that over. Interesting, because maybe he knows something we don't. The rain kind of came through in a wave, and it's now lightening up completely, and there's not a lot of rain falling right now, and now he's dust bathing. So I wonder if he knows that it's just going to ease off for a while, so he's going to just treat himself to a little dusting before the next wave of rain comes. I'm quite glad though that it's dissipating a little bit. It's going to make going on a rest of our adventure for the morning far more pleasant. So I'm not going to go off-road behind him. If he starts disappearing into this thicket, we're going to leave him there. I suppose I could go a little bit further up on the road, which would make Mpho's life a lot easier. So let's try to do that while he's dust bathing. But I'm going to try and be strategic here and try and come down this slope with an angle to the right so that I can drain the whole roof without getting it on me. That worked better than expected. See that, Mpho? We avoided getting a downpour on ourselves. Well, on me more than on you. Mpho is safely tucked behind me here under the tent that is our rain roof. Gives me the shivers when I see that water coming down. Like sometimes it hits you and it goes down your back. And then it's cold and cold water on the back always gives everybody that same kind of arching back feel, you know. It's never very pleasant. All right, well, he's having a good little dust bath, so we'll sit with him a little bit longer. In the meantime, let's send you across to Lauren, who's still scanning around on the dam cam.
Enjoy your elephants, Tristy. The soggy bottom of yours will have to be soggy for a little bit longer. Mine is dry, however, but I don't have elephants. It's a no-win situation, really. But from what I can see and what I can hear outside, it does sound like the rain has eased. I think it's going to be like this all day, but it's definitely brought some relief, if not marginally. I didn't actually anticipate coming back to so much rain. And we obviously have to be careful out here. Once a certain volume of water has fallen, then we're not able to off-road, and then we have to be careful and avoid some roads, because it's all about protecting the terrain as well. Some roads will get really, really destroyed once you continue to drive over them, especially off-road. And they're wet, they're moist, they're loose. And I wonder if that might come into play this afternoon. Very, very possibly with the amount. I don't actually know what we're at. Maybe FC can tell me. Caitlin, you are 9 years old, and you're asking a fabulous question. I love it. I don't actually know. Most likely the birds, for example, would just find the thickest sort of tree or bush or shrubbery and hide underneath it. I mean, we saw dark mane this morning, the lion just walking out in the rain. There's really nowhere to hide, Caitlin, to be honest, out in the wild. There's no shelters, there's no tents, there's no cafes, unfortunately. So most of them will just either find a big, thick bush and go in it, or a thick tree. Maybe in the Mulwati, there might be some sort of shelter in the Mulwati, and really, other than that, that's it. One of my favourite rainy drives, I'm sure some of you can remember, it was with Tandy. We were wet. I think it was Davi and I. We were soaking. We were wet. It was miserable. And we were with Tandy. We was also soaking wet and miserable. And all three of us just sat and looked at each other. She was not a happy bunny that day. There's really nowhere for them to hide. But as I touched on earlier, the water, the moisture can bring relief, can really do wonders for the skin, even animals suffering from mange. Now, mange can savage animals, but water, rain, can bring relief. Any sort of, sorry, I know I'm going a bit fast here. I don't want to make you all dizzy, but I want to get back to the dam. Once moisture soaks into the skin, it can really get rid of a lot of sort of itchies, scratchies, parasites, anything lodged on the skin. It can help heal wounds, it can help clean. So although animals look a bit miserable, that's anthropomorphizing really, they probably are enjoying it to some extent. It's going to make finding animals a lot harder too. All those winter congregations around water bodies. Of course, pans will fill up. There'll be puddles. As I mentioned earlier, there'll be moisture on the tree. Everything changes. I think that name was Flutterby. I hope I'm right, and I love it. Butterflies flutter by. You're asking about hippos and whales, and believe it or not, hippos do have a direct link to the ocean. And it's a really strong one at that. The cetaceans in general, which includes marine mammals or dolphins, they are really closely linked. Taxonomy? Oh, that's a tough one. I think I need another coffee. In terms of closest living relatives to hippos, absolutely. Hippos and you would think they would be related to the sort of dugongs or the manatees in terms of appearance, but that's not the case at all. They are very closely related to cetaceans. A lot of land animals will have direct links to the ocean, and it's not always directly apparent. I mean, you wouldn't really think necessarily that, at least in terms of physical appearance, let's forget all the other stuff, genetics, DNA, but in terms of physical appearance, you wouldn't really think a hippo is closely related to a dolphin. But they are. Whales, dolphins, porpoises, collectively you call them cetaceans. And I'm sure the diversions from hippos to cetaceans was around 55 million years ago. So it's an ancient relative, but they are absolutely closely linked. So in answer to your question, yes. I'm surprised there's no hippo here in the dam. And people forget that whales and dolphins are mammals. You think fish. And really, they're not fish. Yes, they live in the ocean and they maybe swim like a fish and there's maybe some similar features, but they are mammals at the end of the day. So whales and dolphins or cetaceans are more closely linked to the likes of hippos and other land mammals than they are to fish. Whereas sharks and rays, they are classified as fish. When you actually look at who's related to who in the animal kingdom, it's really fascinating and sometimes surprising. Fish are cold-blooded. Mammals are warm-blooded. So your dolphins and your whales and your cetaceans, they are warm-blooded. That's one big difference. Okay, I'm not doing very good at finding animals here. But I am going to keep trying and see what else we can find. I think everything is hiding today on this rainy day. I'm not finding anything, unfortunately, but if you just keep scanning from side to side, what is that? We may get lucky, at least with some birds. It's highly unlikely anything's going to come to drink today because water's everywhere. Ah, hello there. Just what I'm looking for, the bird party. Some Egyptian gooses. Look at that perfect reflection. And they're probably soaking wet. The rain has eased, so that's exactly what they're doing. Cleaning, preening, shaking their tail feathers, getting rid of all the water that's weighing them down. It's very sweet. Let's just take a moment or two to admire the gooses having a little clean. Look at that lapwing frozen in time. I think this is a perfect place to be. We're going to sit here and enjoy this bird party.
found the wildebeest that Darkmane was hunting earlier. They're looking very sorry for themselves. I feel like I can relate to these guys. They look as though they are thoroughly miserable with the rain that's fallen, and rightly so. Now, I don't know if Darkmane is still hunting them or if he's still around. I don't think so. They look awfully relaxed, as do the impalas that are not too far away from where these guys are. So I suspect that the rain has driven Darkmane into shelter and hiding too. The tracks are very close to the southern boundary when I last saw them, so I'll just have a quick look and see if we can spot him somewhere. He might have crossed south though into Hoffman's. He does go in there quite a bit these days. So we'll have a little look around. But you can see how they're all huddled up. Most of them, their backs turned to us, and that's purely based off the fact that that's where the rain was coming from. So the rain was coming from the southeast. So they just turn their backs to it. It's quite a common thing that the antelope do when it's raining quite hard, is they turn their backs, and then they don't get as much in their eyes and their faces, and kind of hits them from behind rather than the other way around. And we as people do it sometimes too. If there's a lot of wind or something, and where there's that saying, turn your back to the wind, you do the exact same thing. So you can see the rain's about to get heavier again. You can hear it starting to get heavier on the roof, and even can see it falling quite steadily now. And like I say, I mean, as much as it's horrible for the animals right now, they're all going to be rejoicing in the fact that they're going to get really good green grass out of all of this. So soon they're going to be a lot better off than they have been over the past couple of months. I think these guys can count themselves lucky that the Talamati Pride wasn't in operation this morning with Darkmane. As weather would have been difficult for them. Apollo, most definitely. Maribsuru would definitely want to hunt wildebeest. I'm pretty sure he'll hunt anything, that cat. He's got no fear of anything, and I think it's part of it is just that he enjoys the game of chasing larger animals around. Also, he's a young growing boy, so I suppose a big steak on the back of a wildebeest looks awfully inviting for a young leopard like that. So I would be almost certain that he would try and stalk these wildebeest and cause much panic doing it. You know what is cool is we should hopefully get some froggies calling if the pans fill up a little bit. That'll be nice if we get some frogs coming out, especially if we get a little bit of sunshine, so to activate everything. It'll be good. Pretty sure the little bushveld rain frogs will come out after this. You should see them hopping about. Such cute little things. The angriest faces in the world to bushveld rain frogs. So I'm looking forward to them coming out, and all the frogs actually. I love the sounds of frogs. I've said many times that I did not like frogs as a kid and was petrified of them. But now, I love their calls. It's something pretty epic about sitting at a pan after a storm in the night out here and just hearing the cacophony of frog calls. It's very, very, very cool. Rain has stopped for a bit. Well, that's nice. Actually, there's not all surrounding the one that's lying down. There's actually some more a little bit to the right that are also down. But I think that one just decided to sit, and the others with the rain are a little bit less likely to, so they're a bit more wary. So it's not so much that they're surrounding it, it's just that you might find also actually that they were sitting and they heard the car coming and they all stood up. So they might have all just been sitting together. There we go. You see, it's the bull that was lying down. So it could be just that they're all sitting together, and when the car came, they stood up. But yeah, it's difficult to know. And they're congregating tightly in a group like that because they've been hunted this morning by a male lion. Pretty sure they saw him, judging by the way the tracks were running around. So what I think is the case is that they've decided to kind of settle here and close together. See them all shaking. Trying to get all the water out their manes. If you found Darkmane now, he'd also be giving his big mane a shake. such a cool photo to get of lions shaking their manes. All the water coming off of it. Alright, talking about dark mane, let's go and see if we can find him now that the rain's settled a bit. We'll just do a little loop around. Maybe he'll be head up and looking around and not being so unhappy with life, because I imagine he's been looking fairly miserable wherever he is during that last little downpour that we had. Kaylee, yes, you can. So if you look at the horns of a female wildebeest, there's two things that you look at. One is the dark brown patch on the forehead, and then the other thing is the gap between the horns is slightly wider than on the males. But the actual horn shape is the same. You don't get a difference in shape, you just get a size difference of the horn and bulkiness difference on the top, much like a buffalo. Alright, so the wildebeest were up here when Lauren had dark mane and them, and then the last tracks I had for him was just across this corner. Basically, if you cut this corner onto Zoe's road, his tracks were on the road there coming south, and then I didn't find them again after that. So it seemed like he cut into this block here. That's why I thought maybe he'd just still be watching them from a distance, because they were here, they kind of ran out here and then they turned and then ran back to where we had them now. I mean, already their tracks have been completely washed, so his tracks are not going to be easy to see. You can see here where they ran across back that side. There's hyenas. I'm going to check a little bit here just to see if you went south. Oh, this road got so much rain, it's difficult to see whether or not he went here. Jonas, I'm sure he did. Just to hide from the rain a little bit. Often what you'll find is lions, and it's not just male lions, is when the rain comes down like this, they just try and find a bush and they get in underneath it and they just sit there and wait out the rain. So I think that's probably what's happened in this instance, is that he's decided he is wet and, well, the rain was coming. It's time to just go find a place to settle down. Where that place is, though, is anyone's guess, because, like I say, this is where the last tracks were, was here in this area, but I see another vehicle that's driven here since I've been here. I'm not sure we're going to see these tracks anymore. My gut tells me, though, that he's crossed south into Hoffman's. That's hyena tracks. Liv, who's 12 years old, you're asking the difference between wild dogs and hyenas. So Liv, I would love to have shown you with a book, but because of the rain, I don't have any of my books with me. But you see his tracks here, they cut off into the block here, and then look like still going southwards. But essentially, wild dog smaller, lighter, has a very straight back, whereas a hyena has got longer front legs, so has a more slanted back. Hyenas also have a coat that is, depending on which hyena, but if we're talking spotted hyenas, is kind of a sort of khaki color, khaki brown, and then they've got these little spots on them, little brown spots. Whereas wild dogs typically have no spots on them, they just have patterns of white, brown, and sort of black. Then you'll find on the wild dog they have a long tail with a little white tufted end on it, whereas hyenas have a much shorter tail. What else? Well, there's about the sort of main differences between them. Dogs also have bigger ears than what the hyena does, but it's very difficult to get them confused. If you see a picture of each one, it's pretty easy to see that they don't look anything alike. It drives the guy that does the wild dog research absolutely mad, because he has photographic sensors sometimes in Kruger, and he gets so many photographs that people submit of wild dogs, and they are hyenas, jackals. He even sometimes gets things like serval or cheetah in there, which is just mind-boggling sometimes. So yeah, but the hyena and jackal mostly are the ones that everyone confuses wild dogs with. But if you actually look, there's really not much that you can confuse a wild dog with. They have a very unique look. There's nothing else out there that even remotely resembles them. I think it's just more people think of hyenas as dogs, and that's why they get confused. But we know that hyenas are not in the dog family. They're in their own family altogether. So they're in Hyenidae. So yeah, not related to dogs. Okay, I'm going to just bumble, I think, slowly kind of back towards camp. It's that time of the day anyway, but we'll see what we get on the way.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
It's day one of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition, and our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
Either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, no further luck. I haven't seen any fresh signs of Darkmane, so maybe he's just lying under a bush somewhere, and by this afternoon he'll come out and we'll be able to find his tracks and be able to find him again. It's brightening up quite a lot now, which is nice. Seems as though the clouds are lifting a little bit and it's getting a lot more hospitable for game drive, and hopefully a lot drier for this afternoon's affairs. Yeah, hopefully we'll have a dry afternoon. It's not really that pleasant when it rains in the evenings like it has this morning, and then it's cold and wet in the dark. It can make for a tough tough evening, so let's hope for not clear skies, but just the lifting of the cloud and no rain. It should be really nice conditions then, and it's actually not bad when you get rain like this and then it lifts a little bit, and you find a lot of the animals, so particularly the territorial creatures, the leopards and lions, they go on a big scent marking spree just to redefine their territories. A lot of the rain will have washed a lot of the scent marks away, and so it's good to just get all of that back up and running. So you see the male leopards patrolling quite heavily. Even the females, to a degree, will go out now and mark quite a lot. So hopefully this afternoon we'll see some of that behavior, and we'll pick up some of the individuals doing that. But for now it's time to head back to camp because, well, it's freezing and I want to get out of wet clothes. 3 hours in wet stuff is not really that pleasant. And the temperature has dropped quite a bit this morning. It's cold out here now. It was fairly warm when we started, but with that rain it's just cooled everything off. It'll also be nice for tracks this afternoon. We should be able to see tracks quite nicely after that rain. I wonder if we're going to get any giant African land snails coming out this evening. That'll be cool as well. I haven't seen them in a while. The nice thing about rain is it brings a lot of things that we haven't seen for a few months. So we start to see this land snails, you start to see the tortoises, the cuckoos and kingfishers will start arriving back now because the rains have started to fall and insect activity should increase, which is, I mean, not the best part of all of this. A whole bunch more mosquitoes is not really ideal, but and ticks too. But at least, you know, we'll get a whole bunch of new animals in the area, and it makes the drives a lot easier in many ways because you have so much more that you can look for. Insect world and bird world gets exponentially larger than it was prior to the rains. So it'll be nice to look forward to seeing all of that stuff. Although in the time that I'm here now, I doubt that much will come. And then I won't be on drives until next year, so who knows? If it doesn't rain, for sure, tracks will be visible. They're not going to be easy to see tracks. The roads now are going to take on a very hard, flat appearance. So that nice, soft, loose sand that we've basically cultivated over the last 6 months of driving every day and kicking up and churning the dust, that makes tracking much easier. That's all going to have gone now. Everything will be quite hard. So you'll see the tracks this afternoon because the roads will still probably be quite soft from the rains this morning. But once the sun comes out and bakes them a little bit, then it's going to take cars driving around for a couple days just to loosen everything up again. That's why sometimes some of the reserves, what they'll do is they'll just also to smooth the road out from any wash that has taken place with the rain, is they'll just drag some tires along. It just helps kind of break that hard crust up after the rain and keep the roads a little bit softer and a little smoother. And a brew calling. Alrighty, well, it's a quiet morning in some respects. I suppose we did get dark rain and Ellies and a little bit of wet weather in between all of that, so I think we did okay, all things considering. I mean, all things considered. There we go, I'll speak properly at some point. My delicious English is going to eventually work properly. At least one good thing is Rusty got a nice little wash down. Just need to wipe it this afternoon and it'll look like it's brand spanking new, which is wonderful. It was looking a little dusty yesterday, so I'm glad Rusty will be nice and clean now. Hopefully Wendy will be up and running as well, and we'll be able to get out, or Lauren will be able to get out. I'm sure she's itching to be out and not stuck at the dam camp. Saw Tech was furiously working on it when I left camp a little bit earlier to make sure that she's broadcast ready by this afternoon. like I say, we're going to head home now. It's cold, it's wet. We're going to try dry off. Hopefully this afternoon will be a reset and things will be a lot easier and a lot better this afternoon. I'm even hoping that we'll get lucky enough to take these roofs off. I hate driving with these roofs. And that it'll be a beautiful kind of evening with maybe even a bit of sunshine. One can hope. I think that's not unreasonable. But it is, like I say, that time we're heading back. Thank you all for all of you that have joined and dealt with us going in and out and rain and kind of all the other things that have happened. And it was nice that JP was able to get out for a little bit too. It's nice when we have the Pridelands feed. And like I say, hopefully this afternoon we'll have all of us up and running and doing what we need to do. So from all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you this afternoon on our Sunset Safari.